because I want to go off a little side tangent, if you don't mind, for a second, Cam, because I talked about this on my show, the Treksperts Roundtable.
It's fine.
Just this most recent episode. There are a lot of elements to what we're referring to as new Trek. That's kind of like new vinyl. Do you remember a product called new vinyl? It was meant to polish the vinyl top of your car in the 70s. You're not old enough. But I'm kidding.
I know what
so it's fine. New with an NU. So new Trek is with an NU. It's the live action Treks that are currently the problem. Because, season 3 of Picard notwithstanding, I'm going to give that one a pass for the moment. But anybody working on Discovery, on seasons 1 and 2 of Picard, and even Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds was such something we demanded as Trek fans, and they delivered it to us. And they delivered this most horrific version of it. And we could talk a whole other show about what could have been, should have been better about Strange New Worlds, because I love the actors. I love the look of the ship. But the writing and the direction they've taken the show is atrocious.
Interesting. That's the first negative review of Strange.
Don't get me wrong. I love Anson Mount, and I love all the actors on the show, and I want to love unfailingly. I want to love Strange New Worlds, but it is failing miserably. And only if you know Trek as well as a lifelong fan of all Trek does, will you see where the chinks in the armor are.
I see zero issues. I do have issues with the animation.
Well, let's do a show. We just talk about that. I'll do a deep dive in it for you, and I'll bring you around to my way of thinking. I promise, because I'm not a hater about certain things.
I never said you're a hater.
Other than the JJ verse, but that's another.
I love all things Star Trek except for the Fast and Furious movies.
But let me tell you what is right about 21st century Trek. It's the animated Treks. But it's not the animated Treks. It is a thing, but it's not a thing. No, it's the people in charge of them. Mike McMahon, who is doing Star Trek Lower Decks, gets Star Trek, knows Star Trek, loves Star Trek. Same thing for the Hageman brothers, the guys who did the first season of Star Trek Prodigy. You watch Star Trek Prodigy and put aside the fact that the medium is animation. Season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy, Cam, hands down, is one of the best Star Trek stories told in 55 years plus of Star Trek.
Completely disagree.
And you know what? And I will put that up against what I said now, 10 years from now. Because one of my good friends in the Treksperts Roundtable, Rob Rahman, was good enough to send me a couple of screenshots of me gushing about how great Star Trek Discovery was a couple of years ago. And through the lens of hindsight, being 2020, I could see it for the schlock that it is. Every season of Discovery used some other element of Star Trek as a crutch.
That's all Discovery, the shows, though.
Whether it was the mirror, no. No other Star Trek. No other Star Trek used did a whole season based upon the mirror universe.
No.
No other Star Trek required the Enterprise to come in and save them.
That's not what I mean.
What do you mean? Tell me what you mean.
I'm saying they're always weak their first season, every single one of them, because
you're right. You're not wrong about that. But here we are going into the 4th season, and it's like, we're gonna wrap up after 5 seasons because we're 930 some odd years in the future. If Discovery had started with, here's this ship from the 23rd century, 10 years before the original series, and something happens, and boom, beginning of the first season, we're 930 years in the future, would have been a great story. But they took 3 seasons to figure that out. First we're going to do the mirror universe, now we're going to get Captain Pike. Seriously. Listen.
They all take a while, but they're all part of the same coin. The main issue...
And the person who deserves the most credit, because he's doing live action Trek, is Terry Matalas. Terry Matalas, the Hageman brothers, and Mike McMahon, if we got rid of everybody else and put these 3 teams in charge of all present Trek, it would be firing all thrusters.
Well, I would get rid of the Lower Decks one, because other than the Section 31 and the DS9 episode.
Okay, tell me why. Why would you get
It's
rid of
an
Lower
Archer
Decks?
cartoon. Yeah, I like how it's canon, but there was so much filler bullshit this season.
Well, in
Like
season 3? Season 1, I look at it and goes, this is just Star Trek with dick and fart jokes and loaded with Easter eggs. Seasons 2 and 3 of Lower Decks started telling their own stories.
No, season 3, when they had that owl planet, that has nothing to do with the rest of the season.
Okay, that was a bad episode. I'll agree with you. That was a dumb episode. But in fact, it's the one I won't go back and rewatch because I tried. That and the Exocomp Peanut Hamper, dumb. I was just
I like the animation.
You get a cringe character, but yeah,
the animation.
I'm with you on that.
I'm with you on the animation of Prodigy. That's some good animation, but
you don't like the story.
It's more of a Star Wars Clone Wars cartoon. It's not.
Oh, see, I don't think so at all. I think here's this story where they found some kids. I mean, listen, with the kids on the ship and their own little side mission, half a dozen kids. Does it have a little bit of a Star Wars Rebels feel to it? Maybe, but that's kind of like by design because it's the audience they went after, the 7 and up crowd. But I think even though they're going after the 7 and up Nickelodeon crowd, it's still being told in a way that doesn't feel campy or kitschy to adults. Because I watch it with my 7-year-old daughter, and she loves it. I mean, listen, she'd rather watch Star Trek Lower Decks, but I have to cherry pick those episodes. So at the beginning, I never has this parent been more grateful to see at the beginning, TV 14, TV, PG, but it says, violence or language. If I see the one that says S for sexual situations, we skip that episode for the 7-year-old. But she'd rather watch Lower Decks, so I have to cherry pick those episodes. But I could trust that Prodigy was actually tailored for her age group.
Yeah. I will go with Strange New Worlds and all of Picard. When Picard came back,
okay, we're going to talk about. We're going to take this sidetrack further.
Yeah, sidetrack. I see what you did there.
In sidetrack, really.
Yeah.
Let's get Dr. Mbenga. His daughter's stuck in a transporter buffer because we can't. What the hell is this crap? I mean, and here's the other thing. But here's my real problem with Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and I have to couch this carefully and tighten this up fast. Otherwise, I'm going to get I'll get accused by your listeners of being anti-woke or something.
Just go with it. Just say what you want to say.
I love Captain Pike. I always thought from way back when it would have been cool if we had a Captain Pike show. But if you go back and watch The Cage, which is the groundwork for what Pike's Enterprise was, there's a lot of guys on that ship. And listen, I don't care if we have a starship that's crewed mostly by women. I'm totally cool with that. I love women. We wouldn't be here without women. Women are great. Give me another Star Trek show. But there's a handful of guys. Jose Tyler. I mean, Pike's Yeoman Colt was.
I don't see. So if they don't adapt every single character from an original 30-plus-year-old show,
but why tell a story based upon characters and a ship that people wanted to see? And okay, fine. Even if we have all original characters and they're all women, I don't care about that. I really don't care about that. Oh, let's go get Uhura because people know who she is and we'll make her a cadet. Oh, let's get Dr. Mbenga from that one episode of the original series.
Yeah, makes sense.
Let's get Christine Chapel in there. And she was probably still in medical school when, that would have been happening.
Makes sense.
Let's just shoehorn all these TOS characters into this show just to make it more familiar. No. Give us some original characters and have them be meaningful. And make them all women. I don't care if they're all women. Just don't cherry pick all these TOS characters.
Well, they had plenty of other original characters in there. So
and here's the biggest one. Because I find the Treksperts Twitter and scroll through the feed. I've got a picture of the guy who played Dr. Boyce right next to Jeffrey Combs. And if Jeffrey Combs isn't the spitting image born to reprise the role of Dr. Boyce on this show, I don't know who is.
He's too busy.
Why isn't Dr. Boyce on Pike's Enterprise? I mean, Jeffrey Combs is the guy who's played 15 different roles on every Star Trek.
You lost me here. So what's the problem? What's the problem?
Where is Jeffrey Combs in Star Trek Strange New Worlds as Dr. Piper?
I'm still waiting to hear a point on why the show is not the best.
I just told you all the reasons. And the storytelling. Oh my God. I mean, listen, Spock's brain is the Doomsday Machine by comparison to that one where they were all dressed up in medieval costumes.
Time. What's the problem?
It's schlock. It's kitschy.
Why is it schlocky?
I'm trying to define that for you. Who
is it? It doesn't look rushed. It doesn't. Okay.
Who watched The Cage and thought, here's a very introspective but deep guy, and
Pike they had to change it up.
Pike is acting like he's everybody's best buddy.
Okay, but they had to change it up because Jeffrey Hunter doesn't even want anything to do with Star Trek, so they're going to take on it.
Dead.
Correct. Which is my point exactly. They're going to do their own formula on it because then they'll be accused of being formulaic. Same thing happened to all these other spinoffs.
Here's my nutshell, Cam. Here's my nutshell, and then we'll get back. Feel like they watched some Star Trek and then just started writing.
Well, now, okay. So I've got into this before. Nicholas Meyer made the best track movies, and he didn't want them to be at all like the show. So that already loses me. Compared to Star Wars, Trek, as far as I'm concerned, is still alive and well. Star Wars, I'm now convinced, should have always been a Buck Rogers Firefly type show. Because after seeing all these soulless Disney movies,
Star Wars,
yeah, 1,000%.
It would have worked. You're not digging on The Mandalorian?
I'm saying it's great now that it's a Buck Rogers type show. Before that, I thought it was dead because I had to endure all these lifeless Disney movies and cash grabs.
Okay.
Paramount.
I think we're probably on the same page with Star Wars. For me, the original trilogy is the only thing worth its salt. The prequel trilogy was fun when it came out because it was the first new thing we had in a long time, but you realize it didn't have the staying power. Even Rogue One, I went into the theater. I remember going to see Rogue One after reading the prequel novel Catalyst. And anybody who read the Star Wars prequel, I mean, it was a good book. It was a really good book. And the funny thing was, the last page of the book ends right where the scene opens at the beginning of Rogue One.
And
the funny thing was, I couldn't get the book read fast enough before we went to the premiere. I literally finished the last page as the lights came down in the theater. I'm in line. I literally brought the book with me, finished the last page as the lights were going down in the theater. And I finished this, and then the screen comes up a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's just where I left off in the book. It was great. And I loved the movie. And I loved the fact that they're uploading the plans, and then we're on the Tantive 4, and then, Vader's in there, and he's killing all these guys, and then Princess Leia gets away. Hope. It was great. Okay, granted, we wanted a little better CGI, and I'm sure they could probably fix that now with as far as they've come in the last couple of years.
AI generating.
Exactly. But here's the thing. This movie lacks the same thing that Han Solo movie lacks.
Oh, God.
Rewatchability. I'll tell you what this is. I left Rogue One going, oh my God, that was the best Star Wars movie since The Empire Strikes Back, blah, 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 blah. I can't rewatch it. I have tried no fewer than half a dozen times
you've told me this before.
Rogue One.
And I get it. Most movies nowadays, that is my issue with them. Most of the time, they are one and done. You've seen them. You don't need to see them a gazillion times, which sucks because all our other movies we've grown up watching before we became cynical, before we realized Hollywood's out of ideas, they still held up because you could reanalyze the swift editing, the wonderful art design, the practical.
Just to touch on what you said right there, you just said something important. I don't know that Hollywood is out of ideas. I think we have the wrong people in Hollywood because before you and I were born, before there were film franchises, before there was Marvel, before there was Star Wars, before there was Star Trek, you had talented writers who would write stories and they would get made into TV shows or movies.
One way or another, and they made a living.
But they would, like Isaac Asimov didn't have a franchise. He would write a bunch of different stories. Arthur
Philip
C.
K.
Clarke
Dick made short stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They would write solid science fiction stories.
And filmmakers own their shit.
We have today, exactly. The problem I feel we have today is that we don't have dyed-in-the-wool independent sci-fi writers writing today. We have fans writing sci-fi today.
We have fans. Well, I mean, sometimes that works. Look at Altered Carbon. That's a cyberpunk love letter.
Okay.
But yes, there's too many people's nephews and nieces going around. And, post Me Too, we've seen so many shocking emails of all these once respected studio execs who, truth be told, they don't give a shit about anything.
No.
And they're so worried about...
Will it make me money? That's all they care about.
Well, but now it's got into even...
Will it put butts in seats?
Even more. But they need to just do away with the whole, if we don't peak at this high a number in China, our movie's not a hit. It's like, fuck you. Stop relying on foreign numbers.
Before Star Wars, George Lucas was a visionary in that all he wanted from 20th Century Fox was the merchandising rights. Who ever heard of that? Oh, you want to sell T-shirts and lunchboxes? Okay, we guess. Nobody did that before.
Well, pretty much. No, this is where I like it. Gene Roddenberry.
Even me as a kid, I didn't watch Star Trek in the 60s because I was born in 68. I watched it in its first syndicated run in the 70s.
Exactly,
And what's interesting about that, when most things were getting toys, they would come out when the movie was out or the TV show was out. Mego came out with Star Trek figures during syndication.
Yeah, unheard of.
Yeah. So
and Roddenberry, he's had some stuff he's not the most proud of, but he was a visionary in and of himself. He had already outstayed his welcome in so many other procedurals, anthology shows, and sci-fi. So it made sense that this was his baby and he kept milking it. While Lucas, no, that's a good contrast. Because with Lucas, Star Wars basically both made him and destroyed him.
Yeah.
Because that was the only thing, we love Willow, some of us, not all. But it was not.
Yourself.
Okay, no, that's fine. It wasn't a hit at the time, and that's kind of why he went back to the well that was Star Wars.
Warwick Davis is a good actor. Make him an Ewok, put him inside R2-D2 or something. That's Kenny Baker is an R2-D2. But I wouldn't give you a wooden nickel for Willow.
No, it's fine.
For me, it was my Lord of the Rings. Labyrinth. I'm just not a Middle Earth kind of guy.
No, that's fine. Because
I think about Randall in Clerks 2, talking about what the Lord of the Rings movies were about. It's about a bunch of people walking. They walk. First movie, they're walking. Second movie, they're walking. Third movie, they're walking. Plucks the ring off his finger, drops it in. Okay, I guess we're done.
Well, and that's the crazy part. Is like, not everyone can get into Lord of the Rings, not everyone can get into Star Wars, even though they both inspired each other. So
Randall said it best in Clerks 2. There's only one return, okay, and it ain't of the king, it's of the Jedi.
Meh. It's like the best scene in that otherwise awful sequel.
Hey, listen. Clerks is tied for my favorite movie of all time, tied with Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
There you go.
In 1994,
OG one. Yeah.
In 1994, I was Dante Hicks. I'm not even just to be here today.
Dante is amazing. In fact, I would pay money to see him do a Star Trek cameo. He probably won't, but why not?
Well, yeah.
What's he got to lose?
Well, the funny thing is Kevin Smith actually bought the theater in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. That was his hometown theater. So he owns that. Yeah, he does that. He shows current stuff too, but I think you can go see his movies there on the regular. Nice. But the funny thing for me, we are so off topic. So I have some apologies, dude. We're having a stream of thought here.
Had a long day. We're letting all our geeky energy do that. We can't even say to anyone else without them looking at us like we're strangers.
Growing up here in Jersey and relating very heavily to Kevin Smith's Dante character, I loved Clerks because Clerks takes place in the immediate county north of the county I grew up in. So we were always in that county.
It's even more personal.
But in the follow-up movie, Mallrats, this is, he couldn't get, for insurance purposes, permission to film in any of the New Jersey malls.
Yep.
So he goes to Eden Prairie, Minnesota, to film at the Eden Prairie Mall, which is a smaller mall about 5-10 miles away from the Mall of America, which is one of the biggest malls ever.
Giant ass mall.
Yeah. And which I was actually in a movie. I was in the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Jingle All the Way there. I was an extra.
Oh, sweet.
So if you ever see Jingle All the Way, when he's chasing the little girl through the ball pit, and right when the angry mother's accost him, and he goes, "I'm not a pervert." Immediately after he says that, there's a guy with an armful of rolls of wrapping paper comes over his right shoulder. That's me.
Did you ever put it on your IMDb?
I wish, right?
Go for it.
No, I didn't meet Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I did spend a good amount of time on set that day talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double, a guy named Danny. He was a real nice guy.
Oh, it wasn't Peter Kent. It was Danny.
No, it was Danny. I forget his last name.
No, I know the one you're talking about. That dude. That is the same one who plays the guy who tries to stop his vehicle in T3.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Billy D. Lucas, but I think he calls him Danny. I think sometimes.
Okay, I thought you know more about it than I do then. But anyway, my point is that in Mallrats, these guys go from the mall, which is shot in the Mall of America, which they get kicked out of, which is supposed to be a New Jersey mall, to the Route 1 flea market, which does not exist anymore, but on Route 1 in New Jersey, there was a big flea market. It's actually a Walmart on that property now. And I knew the Route 1 flea market very well because it was someplace we'd frequented when we were younger on a Saturday. And for me, it was such a major disconnect to go from the Eden Prairie Mall. Oh, I didn't tell you. My dad lived in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. So I'd been to the Eden Prairie Mall. So for Kevin Smith to try to sell me a movie that we're going from the Eden Prairie Mall to the Route 1 flea market when they're 8 states apart, sorry, I'm out of the fiction there. I cannot suspend my disbelief.
I mean, there's always going to be I don't think anyone knows what a mall is actually like in the movies.
You don't think?
Yeah, you look at Commando where there's like 20 different security guards. You're like, get out of here. That's wrestling logic. That's not.
Nice.
Now, granted, it's not meant to be realistic, but still, this is like, even then, when you apply even modern day video game Grand Theft Auto type logic, it just hurts your brain because you're like, why does everyone keep thinking this is a thing?
My God.
On realism or not, it is a head scratcher when you see certain things. Like anytime anyone's in a Miami scene and it's never raining in Florida, it's like, yeah, no, that's just not how it works. But
because we're filming it in Southern California.
Yay! Cali, good old Cali.
Well, the weather's a little bit different there now these days, but hey.
Oh man. So
should we talk about the Borg Queen?
Yeah, who is your favorite of all the betrayals? And rest in peace, Annie Wershing.
Yeah, well, she was good, but I think Alice Krieg is probably the best one.
Yeah.
I think the Borg Queen, as she was portrayed in Star Trek Voyager Endgame, probably my favorite.
Oh, with Craig returning.
Alice Krieg, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I'm trying to think. There were a couple of other ones. She was good in First Contact, but I think really in Voyager Endgame, that's the one that really hits home for me. Because really it's her and Janeway going head to head.
And it is a good finale.
You know, for as deceptive as the Borg Queen is, she doesn't expect that Janeway can have that unexpected layer of duplicity to defeat a villain.
It would be almost like if
I was just listening to I was at Tawny Newsome, who plays Beckett Mariner on Star Trek Lower Decks. She is one of the hosts of the official Star Trek podcast, the Pod Directive, and they were just talking about which of the captains had the most direct moral compass. So,
definitely Janeway.
Picard, it was between Kirk and Picard, and someone
Oh, really?
who's not as big a. It was the wife of somebody who was on the show, was not as big a Trek fan, didn't realize there were a bunch of other captains on different shows. And I don't think it's that Janeway has a tighter moral compass. I think her loyalty is such that she's going to protect her people at all costs. She won't violate the Prime Directive to do it, but she'll change history to do it.
Yep. Well, and it goes back to the first rule of thumb. Like everyone, like Cisco, pretty much, he's kind of like Sheridan on B5, where he does the whole, playing chicken until waiting for the right chess move, and Picard is a little more patient, and Kirk's the daredevil, and so she's kind of a good, and like you say,
it's just a good balance between the two.
She does a bit of everything. If she wants someone to do something crazy, she's going to give it to Paris or Chakotay.
Actually, if you like Captain Janeway, if Captain Janeway is your jam, there is a book, the autobiography of Catherine Janeway, but specifically the audiobook, because it's read by Kate Mulgrew.
Right.
I mean, it's like you're getting Star Trek Voyager bonus material you didn't know about. It's literally 8 hours of her telling Janeway's life story from the perspective of Captain Janeway.
Do you feel like it's as intriguing?
Soon to be Admiral Janeway. Say again?
Do you feel like it's as intriguing as the Spock and Picard biography, where they read
more so of all of the captain's autobiographies? And Kirk would have been my favorite. Janeway's just hands down the best. I mean, the one autobiography I really want, hell, I would probably offer to write it, but I don't want to write it. I want to read it. I want somebody like David Goodman,
dude, or all these other spin-off material. Just as
I want these. I want one of these guys who's like Peter David. Peter David, one of the best, most prolific, knows Trek well, Trek writers. I think Peter David would be the best person to write the autobiography of William T. Riker. That's a book I'd like to read.
I'll half agree.
And I'd love to hear Jonathan. I'd love to hear Jonathan Frakes narrate that book, the audiobook.
He could probably do it, but I feel like even Kevin J. Anderson, or who did Heir to the Empire in Star Wars, Timothy Zahn. I'd like to see them.
Timothy Zahn, yeah.
I want to see them take on some track.
I love those books. Those are some good Star Wars expanded universe stuff.
Dude, the expanded universe was pretty much what got me into Star Wars. Just knowing that there was more under the table.
Okay, quickly. Favorite expanded universe character? Okay, wait. Favorite expanded universe character, good. Favorite expanded universe character, evil.
I mean, yeah. If this is from any of the Starfleet Academy books, be my guest. I'm not.
No. Star Wars.
Was Star Wars. I'd probably go with from Shadows of the Empire. I'd go with
Lord Zazor.
No, well, he was cool, but Dash Rendar.
You like Dash Rendar, huh?
He should totally be in like a video game or a spin-off.
They actually made an action figure of him.
Correct. But not the whole.
And he came with one of those little mini rigs vehicles. I know way too much about this.
I mean, they did that in even Dark Empire, Luke. So yeah, they've done all kinds of things. But like, team him up with Kyle Katarn, that would be dynamite. I would pay to see.
Favorite Star Wars expanded universe evil?
I think Kate. Well, like you just said, there some of the other guys, the one Twi'lek guy, yeah, he would definitely be up there.
I'll tell you mine.
Admiral Thrawn.
Admiral Thrawn, yep. Admiral Thrawn, and they made him canon by putting him in Star Wars Rebels a lot.
Yep.
So I'm waiting. I hear the live action version of him is going to be coming to either Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian.
I'm pretty sure by the end of this Mondo, they'll definitely put him in there.
But so
they can't not.
Thrawn is my favorite evil expanded universe character.
Oh,
and Mara Jade is my favorite expanded universe.
Mara Jade is very underrated. I got so disappointed that
I used to have listen. I come across as something like Mr. Star Trek. I tell people I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but I love Star Trek. But I still love Star Wars. So I mean, for me, there was always this. Whenever one was up, the other one was kind of waning, and then they would always be in cycle with each other.
It's the same as Alien and Predator. Everyone always wants to act like the other is significant. It's like
you want to laugh? I love the Alien movies. I've never seen any of the Predator movies. I've never seen Alien versus Predator.
Well,
I've never seen Blade Runner.
Keith, you don't have to see every single movie in the Valverde saga, which is amazing because that also means that Die Hard and Speed and Commando are part of that whole saga too. But I'm not making that up. That's a Joel Silver, Simone D'Souza universe. But yeah, it is amazing though how we're now getting people who are talking shit about anyone who doesn't like the IMDb top 250 when 90% of those movies, It's a Wonderful Life, Blade Runner, even freaking Fight Club, are all movies that were hated at the time. So it's just like, guys, what you consider legit for these next 20 years may not be in the other audience. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I get very passionate. I get up on my soapbox and I've got very fervent opinions about what I tell you I do and don't like. But I also respect anybody else's opinion to like or not like what they do or don't like.
And you got to let it out. You got to let it out because it will eat you up if you do not share that opinion.
Yeah.
And so many other people are like, why is there no voice for this? I'm like, there's voices for everything. If you look.
Yeah. Overturn a few rocks, you'll find us.
Well, and the difference between any of the trackies here tonight is we're not going to do hidden code, a hidden language. We're not an alt-right broadcasting network.
You know? Could you imagine?
That would be funny if there was like an alt. I mean, there's plenty of track villains.
I remember, I forget exactly what it was and how it was phrased or how it was worded, but there was something along the lines of like, you know how they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Expecting different.
It was something along those lines, and it was about, you know, something that's crazy is people arguing fervently over something fictional that never really happened.
Yes.
You know, it's like that, you know. It's like that's why they call it headcanon. You know, you've got all this expanded universe stuff, all the written stuff, all the game stuff, and you can cherry pick and choose what's in your version of Star Trek or Star Wars.
Exactly.
You know, you know what I'd like? You know what I'd like? This is what I dream of. And I think it's possible because I dreamed of the idea, if not the execution, I dreamed of the idea of the DVR when I was a little kid in the 70s and 80s. All right, I'll tell you why. When I was little, the only way I could watch Star Trek, because there was a time when Star Trek was on at 6 o'clock, you know, after dinner. And
no, 6 o'clock was pretty late.
It was only on at midnight. And I would stay up. Here was the Channel 11 syndicated lineup. It was the 10 o'clock news. It was the Odd Couple at 11, the Honeymooners at 11:30, and Star Trek at midnight. And I would power through the news and the Odd Couple and the Honeymooners just to get to Star Trek. But there were some nights I had school in the morning. I'm a little kid at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm just wanting to go to bed. And I would go to bed and I would turn the knob on the TV, because that's what you did back then. You turned the knob on the TV.
No setting or recording or VHS.
Wishing to myself, and this is before we had VCRs.
Yeah. Wishing
to myself that you would have the ability to turn the TV off, and the exact spot the show was on was where it would be when you turn the TV back on. And we have that today. And there was a reason why I was saying that, but
we're just so spoiled. We have so many people who don't realize how good they got it compared to the have to wait for paint to dry method.
Oh, tell me about it. You know, I'll listen to the replay of this. I'm like, oh, that was the point I was going to make, and I didn't finish making it. But
it's fine. I've already got my editing figured out.
There you go.
I'm the editor. There's a track villain they should have. They should have someone who can edit the holodeck and make it real. That would be a great ultimate track villain.
Yeah, right.
But the closest you get is Moriarty cheating, but that's about it.
Well, are you watching Picard through season 3?
I'm waiting for the last 2 episodes to finish up.
So you don't know what's happened yet?
I've seen the first 5. Again, dude, I binge.
Okay.
That is the way for TV to go.
Obviously, it's no secret that Moriarty's in it because he's in the trailer.
Correct.
Okay. Have you seen the episode where he's been in yet?
I have not seen that one yet. I will get there.
Okay, then we won't discuss that then. I'll leave that spoiler free for you.
It is early appearances. Were you a fan or did you not care for him? It'd be interesting because...
Well, listen.
Some track villains they bring back and no one cares. But I
didn't know how they were going to do it because the way we left Moriarty, because Moriarty was actually in 2 episodes of Next Gen.
Correct.
One where Geordi had a slip of the tongue and said, create a Holmes character that capable of defeating Data, when he should have said capable of defeating Sherlock Holmes. And he comes up with, Moriarty character who can control the Enterprise, from inside the holodeck. But once he realized he could do these things, they basically had to put him in a mini holodeck, which was separate from the main ship. And then they, tricked him into thinking he was, in his own little world going off on a shuttlecraft. So my concern was from the trailer that he was going to be looking for some type of revenge because he figured out the duplicity or whatever. And without revealing any of it, I'll just say it wasn't that. And he was well played, not just by the actor, but the writers did a good job bringing back the character for what he was intended to do.
Gotcha. But altogether, I mean, just out of all the literal,
I don't want to spoil it for you. So,
well, no, I'm going beyond that. I'm just, you have it there. Just the performance, the idea, the concept.
Yes, it was well executed. In fact, even though 20 years have passed since the Next Gen episodes the actor was in, and now, if I look at them side by side, then yes, I could see the actor's aged. But he was so well presented in an Elizabethan era England type of look. To my mind, he looked exactly the same as he did in the series without having gone back to see the episodes. So yeah, he was well presented. I was happy with what they did with the character. So
it's nice.
Yeah.
Altogether, I mean, I kind of wish there was a little more of that because they had it here and there, but it wasn't commonplace that they did that, really, that they had characters coming back.
Actually, the thing that surprises me the most about season 3 of Picard is Todd Stashwick's performance as Captain Liam Shaw.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how I felt about this guy, because as an actor, he was kind of like Charles Bronson. As a kid, Charles Bronson terrified me, hated him, because he always played these characters who had this dark edge, and it just, anytime I'd seen Todd Stashwick before, like he was in this
he's always playing
TV series with Minnie Driver called The Riches.
There's that.
They basically played the Irish Travelers, and he was a really, really bad antagonist, and I hated him.
Oh, that's what he does.
I think that just demonstrates who he is as an actor, and that's been my thing to get over. I think I don't like a person if I don't like their characters, because they play their characters really well. But after seeing Todd Stashwick play this character, and then seeing the actor in interviews about season 3 of Picard, I feel like he's a guy I'd like to hang out with.
I will never hang out with
He's also the same
character.
exact age I am, too. We're both born in 68.
He's a good actor. He's played a lot of evil pricks. He's on a very hysterical episode of Psych, but yeah, no, I would not want to hang out with this character because he's just
I've seen Psych. I don't remember the episode he was in.
It's in one of the Day episodes where he's like an evil boss of Gus.
Oh, okay.
But altogether, I mean, the actor's doing a damn good job with that character, and it's interesting how they've unpacked all this anger in him. He reminds me so many of. We were joking earlier how all the admirals on Starfleet are often just crooked or
Badmirals, we call them.
Badmirals, there you go. And it just seems like he's on his way to being one of those guys who just starts contradicting himself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the funny thing is that Todd Stashwick is a diehard Trek fan. So for him to come in and having loved Picard and Riker as a kid growing up, through all being younger with Next Gen, and to come in and act like a character who couldn't care less about these two guys coming on his ship, and couldn't be any more indifferent to them and disrespectful and condescending to them and contemptuous to them, really speaks to his ability as an actor. Because I've done some theater, and I don't think I'd be able to hide my fanboyish if I was working opposite Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes.
We would probably, as fans, all be kicked off the set because we're holding everybody up. And even if we're not asking him for his autograph or anything, we're having trouble getting into character because we've been waiting so fucking long for the lights and cameras to set up.
Right.
And it's like, I'm sorry, do you see who I'm working with here? God damn it. This isn't just anybody. This isn't just anyone. This is people who we grew up with.
Yeah.
We admire them as people. They seem pretty legit decent.
We'll return after these messages.
Hello and welcome to Culture Shocked, the pop culture podcast brought to you by four aging millennials and our outdated opinions. Join us every Tuesday as we discuss movies, TV, games, and even music, new and old.
Dude, what do you think you're doing?
Are you seriously trying to record a promo without us right now?
Well, yeah?
Dude, you can't just do the promo by yourself. Who's gonna listen to that?
Yeah, and you probably haven't even told them that we're a pop culture podcast where we always agree on everything. For instance, the Sam Raimi trilogy, easily being the best of the Spider-Man movies.
No. But I think we can all agree that Jaws is a classical masterpiece.
Nope, don't like that. But we do all agree that the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is the best in the Skywalker saga, right, guys?
That comment is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to
Anyways, that'll do it from all of us here at Culture Shock. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and foodie debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
We let things pile up in the DVR. We add them to our queues. We wait for the DVDs and Blu-rays. We time shift. The Time Shifters Podcast. Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, superheroes, comedy, action, film, television, maybe some not-so-current events. Find us on iTunes or at timeshifterspodcast.com.
Cool thing about Blind Knowledge is we are in multiple countries. We are worldwide all across the globe. We are in the US, we are in the UK, we are in Canada, Germany, India, Japan. We're in Australia, y'all. BlindKnowledge.com. Now back to the feature presentation.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up